On the evening of October 14th, in the quiet town of Millersburg, Ohio, 36-year-old Amanda Keller, a well-respected elementary school teacher and single mother, left a local PTA meeting around 8:30 p.m. She was seen walking to her silver Honda Accord in the school parking lot, chatting briefly with a colleague before driving off. That was the last confirmed sighting. Hours later, Amanda's car was found abandoned on a rural access road just outside town. Her purse, phone, and keys were all still inside. The driver's seat was pushed too far back, suggesting someone much taller than Amanda had driven the vehicle. Police immediately launched a missing persons investigation. As the days passed, the town's peaceful calm turned into fear and speculation. The first break in the case came when investigators pulled CCTV footage from a nearby gas station. Amanda's car was seen making a stop around 9:12 p.m., and a man in a dark hoodie appeared in the background, watching her from behind the pumps. His face was never fully visible, but someone had been following her. 3 days later, an anonymous call came in to the local sheriff's office. The voice on the line, clearly distorted and shaken, claimed Amanda's ex-boyfriend, 38-year-old Tyler Briggs, had been acting strange and was hiding something at his late uncle's remote hunting cabin deep in the woods, nearly 40 miles from town. Tyler was already known to local law enforcement. He had a criminal record that included assault, domestic violence, and a brief prison sentence. Officers obtained a search warrant and made their way to the cabin. What they found would change the course of the investigation. Behind the cabin, in a shallow, hastily dug fire pit, detectives recovered Amanda's necklace, a distinctive heart-shaped locket she wore every day. Burnt fragments of what appeared to be her clothing were found nearby, along with duct tape, zip ties, and traces of blood. But there was no sign of Amanda. At this point, the case was escalated to a full-scale manhunt. Surveillance drones were deployed and K-9 units began searching the wooded property. Just after midnight, a faint banging sound was heard from beneath the floorboards inside the cabin. Officers uncovered a hidden trapdoor leading to a makeshift basement, a small, cement-lined space with no windows and barely enough room to stand. Inside they found Amanda, bruised, dehydrated, and terrified but alive. She had been held captive for nearly 5 days, chained to a metal pipe. Her rescue triggered an immediate manhunt for Tyler, who had fled just hours earlier. The following afternoon, police located him at an abandoned barn 12 miles from the cabin. When confronted, Tyler pulled a handgun and tried to flee into the woods. After a tense, hour-long standoff, during which he refused to surrender and fired a shot into the air, SWAT officers returned fire, wounding him in the leg. He was taken into custody and transported to a nearby hospital under armed guard. Tyler was later charged with kidnapping, attempted murder, unlawful imprisonment, and multiple weapons violations. Amanda's testimony, along with the forensic evidence collected at the cabin, ensured a strong case against him. The nightmare that had shaken an entire community finally came to an end, with justice served, and a survivor who refused to be broken. In the bitter cold of early January, the city of Bismarck, North Dakota, was quiet under a blanket of snow, but beneath that silence, a dark mystery was unfolding. On January 3, 29-year-old Ethan Wallace, a local freelance journalist known for investigating corruption in small-town government, failed to return home after a routine meeting with a confidential source. Ethan had told friends and colleagues that he was on the verge of uncovering something massive, a story that involved high-level city officials, the police department, and illegal activities linked to abandoned oil sites in the area. He had been digging for months, chasing leads, receiving anonymous tips, and collecting documents. The last time he was seen, Ethan had finished a solo meal at a 24-hour diner and told the waitress he was heading to a late meeting, scribbling something cryptic on a notepad before walking out into the freezing night. When Ethan didn't show up for work the next morning or respond to calls, concern quickly turned into alarm. Police initially treated it as a voluntary disappearance, but those closest to Ethan insisted something was wrong. That same evening, his car was discovered in a snow-covered field on the outskirts of town, torched with no sign of Ethan or his equipment. Even more disturbing, the area where his vehicle was found had no tire tracks other than his own, indicating he may have been lured or forced there. His laptop, camera, and phone were missing. Detectives recovered a partially burned notebook inside the glove compartment, with a single legible name, Reyes. This turned out to be Sergeant Colin Reyes, a decorated officer in the Bismarck Police Department with a clean public record but a reputation in certain circles for being untouchable. The FBI soon took over the case after an anonymous source leaked that Ethan had been investigating corruption involving local law enforcement. As they dug deeper, federal agents uncovered encrypted files hidden in a cloud drive linked to Ethan's email. Inside were hours of audio recordings, notes, and voice memos. In those files, Ethan detailed how Sergeant Reyes had allegedly been accepting bribes from a private security firm operating illegally through abandoned oil fields, a front for smuggling high-powered weapons across state lines. Ethan had documented transactions, surveillance footage, and even a wiretap recording of Reyes threatening a city inspector. That inspector, Michael Dane, had died just 3 days before Ethan disappeared, officially ruled an overdose, but now reclassified as a homicide. Using GPS metadata from Ethan's last recordings, the FBI tracked movement to an isolated oil rig nearly 50 miles west of Bismarck. It had been inactive since 2016, but satellite imagery showed recent vehicle activity. When agents raided the location, they found signs of struggle, surveillance equipment, and, most shockingly, Ethan, locked inside a modified shipping container buried under scrap metal. He was malnourished, bruised, and suffering from exposure, but alive. He told agents he had been abducted by Reyes and 2 unknown accomplices, interrogated for the names of his sources, and left to die once they realized he had already sent files to multiple people. He had been in captivity for over 80 hours. Sergeant Reyes fled the scene hours earlier but was spotted later that day by a wildlife officer patrolling a remote section of road. A high-speed chase ensued, ending in a wooded ravine. Reyes exited the vehicle with a Glock pistol and attempted to escape through the snow-covered woods. After ignoring multiple commands to surrender and firing a warning shot into the air, he was shot in the shoulder by a federal agent and taken into custody. A subsequent search of his home and properties revealed hard drives, unregistered firearms, and financial records tying him to at least 3 other corrupt officials. The arrest that followed dismantled an entire network of organized crime operating under the protection of a few key law enforcement insiders. Ethan Wallace spent months recovering but later published his story in a national investigative journal, exposing the corruption and honoring the lives of whistleblowers who had died for the truth. His bravery and survival turned him into a symbol of modern investigative journalism. The story rocked North Dakota and led to sweeping reforms in local policing policies. Sergeant Reyes was sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole. The darkness he tried to keep hidden was brought into the light, thanks to one journalist who refused to back down.